Good morning, everybody. Another week of quarantine and sending you a motivational message via my YouTube channel. Today, you can see I have another familiar motivational message, one that I use every year, and I've actually already used this year. I think it was the second week or the third week. Toll booths or roadblocks. And to retell the story that I always tell, when I was in college, three friends and I would always drive through Chicago to get home for Christmas break or spring or summer. And back then, in the late 80s, early 90s, Chicago had these change baskets that you would throw your change into, and you could go, and depending on the route you took through the city would depend on how many of those you had. Well, one trip, one of the friends that I drove with just about every time, his name was John, he got into the back seat and he had this huge jar of pennies. Obviously, he had been saving pennies all semester at college. And we were all kind of like, what's the deal with the penny jar? And he's like, I'm going to pay for the tolls in Chicago. And we're like, it's not going to happen. It says right on the booth, no pennies. And he goes, don't worry, it'll work. And so we took off, and a couple hours later, we're into Chicago, and we get to the first booth, and he was in the back seat, so we pull up to the basket, and he just takes his jar, and instead of counting out 50 pennies, he just takes the jar and starts dumping them in. And sure enough, after a while, the light turned green, the arm goes up, and away we go. And we repeated that process a few more times until we got all the way through the city. And the whole point is at a toll booth is you pay the price asked for, or you don't go anywhere. And as I've said before, that road represents life. You know, life is a journey. You have a destination that you want to get to, and that toll booth is either going to be a place where you sit and you pay the price being asked at the time, or it becomes a roadblock. And all of a sudden, the destination that you want to get to no longer becomes that destination because you're not willing to pay the price. Think of this quarantine, think of this pandemic as a toll booth. And there's a price being asked to pay to proceed. Don't let this become a roadblock. Don't let this become something like I have endless weeks of nothingness, and so I'm just going to lay in my bed all day. I'm going to binge watch Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is, YouTube. I'm going to play 48 hours straight of Minecraft or whatever you do. Don't let this become a roadblock where you just kind of go into this mental state of complacency and do nothing. Think of it as a toll booth, and look around you and think about, okay, what is it that I have around me that where I can continue on my journey? Maybe it's just picking up some of the extra jobs around the house. Maybe it's raking the lawn. Maybe it's washing the car. Maybe it's helping put in the garden. Maybe it's helping clean out the basement. I don't know what you have around your house. I don't know what are the things you have to do. Maybe for some of you older teens, it's getting a job. Maybe it's going down to the local grocery store, going to Walmart, going somewhere and saying, getting a job and paying that price. Because right now, you're at a toll booth. It's an unexpected toll booth for sure, but it's asking you to pay something. And rather than considering it a roadblock, saying this isn't going to get me to my destination, find things that you can do. And as you do more, as you get out of bed and get out the door and start doing more, you're going to learn things. You're going to learn new skills. You're going to develop closer relationships with certain people. You're going to have conversations where you're going to gain experience from older people. All of that all of a sudden becomes part of your journey and part of what's going to help you get to your destination. So don't discount any of that. Don't think of this time as this is just dead time, because then it just becomes a roadblock. But look at the toll booth and see what price is going to pay. Maybe it's hey, I have to set aside a couple hours every day to do the homework on the packets, or their projects just got sent home by teachers, and maybe it's got to set aside time to work on the project. Maybe it's I need to set aside time to do this house chore, do this house project, go find a job, whatever it might be. and pay that price so that you can continue